You don't technically need this car. You say that out loud to yourself. You say, I have no space. You say, I'm just looking. Then you click. Then you zoom in on photo number 87 and whisper, oh no. Then you text a friend, the one who always enables you. You say to yourself, this is the last one, knowing it is not. You don't need this car. But maybe, just maybe, this car needs you. Bring a trailer. It's never just a car.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
The Six Nations is finally finished, and we have seen the contenders for the Lions jerseys play Test match rugby for the last time before they get on the plane to Australia. So it's time for us to stop debating our contenders and our bolters into doing our head-to-heads, and we need to finally get off the fence and make the decision. Who is in our 23 for the first Test against the Wallabies? This is Picking the Pride. Let's start the show.
You're listening to United Rugby Rewind.
I am joined by the Rugby BC. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Due to it being an exciting time this weekend, we are recording in the morning, which is unusual for us, but we're excited and fresh to be here. We've had tea or coffee or whatever our chosen hot beverage is. Caolan's shaking his head. He's struggling. But I was
I'm
up
not fresh.
I was up watching the Formula One, so I've been up for hours already anyway.
That's just what you call a good buzz at this stage. You're just like, I'm in the middle of my day. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. Ben, are you an early riser? Surely for your work, you must get up a lot in the morning anyway.
Yeah, 6:37 is my awakening time.
So what we're saying is we're in the prime of life as we choose our team. So like I said, we're abandoning the format that has served us so well in the Six Nations so far. No more bolters contenders, head-to-heads. We are picking not just the first 15, which I suspect is what I may have put on the thumbnail. We are picking the entire 23. We're doing this properly. None of this. In 2025, I think picking just the 15 is a bit part-time, to be honest. Just going to be honest about it.
Yeah.
Imagine just doing like a team of the tournament and not a 23 of the tournament or anything like that.
Yeah.
The bench matters though, doesn't it? You need to know if you're going 5-3 or 6-2. So I think that's why we have to pick a 20.
Exactly. And I spent most of the week coming up with 7 ones that Wales could have had back in the glory days and realizing that we've missed a huge opportunity. But anyway, okay, let's start. So I'm going to share my screen because I've got a snazzy format for us to fill in while we go along that I made all on my own on Excel.
Ooh.
Oh, I like the flag colours as well.
Yeah. So it declares the bias, you see.
See, this is what happens when you're up early and you can attack the day. This is a message, people.
Exactly. I've got so much time to do things. I'd still be in bed by now normally on a Sunday. Anyway, so let's jump straight into it, lads. So what we're going to do is we're going to name the starting front row, and then we're going to name the bench front row as well, because then that stops us.
Yeah.
If one of us has named someone starting and someone else the same on the bench, it stops us having the same conversations over and over again. So, Ben, thanks to alphabetical order, you're first. So what is your starting front three?
I've gone Porter, Sheehan and Xander Ferguson.
Sheehan and Ferguson. Fangwiston. For audio listeners, I'm typing these live, so the lads are going to correct me on my spelling quite a lot. Strap in for that. And then who have you got on the bench?
Schumann, Jamie George, Will Stewart.
Interesting. Right, Caolan, over to you. You're starting front three for the Lions.
Yeah. For audio listeners, I have something different, and you would have seen my face be very different if you're on YouTube. Possibly. I don't know how the screen share works. So my starting front row, look, I've said it for the last 5 weeks, and this is going to be every toss of the coin is going to go this way. It's Andy Farrell. He knows cohesion, so I've gone for the Irish front row. It's Porter, Sheehan, and Furlong.
Sheehan and
Furlong.
Furlong. Now
To his credit,
we're
was
gonna
decent yesterday.
we're gonna debate these after I finish typing them in. And on the bench, you've got
I have Pierre Schumann, Jamie George, and Xander Fagerson. I almost said Matt Fagerson. I don't know.
He
Could he do
was
it
he
now?
was incredible. He was incredible last night. Matt Ferguson carried for
Yeah.
days.
Just the wrong position is all.
yeah. Don't play him in the front row though. That'll go wrong.
No.
So my front three is Porter, Sheehan, and Fagerson. So the same as Ben's. And then my bench is Genge, George, and Stewart. So we've
James
all
over Schumann.
we've all picked Dan Sheehan to be the starting hooker, which I don't think anybody will really argue about that. At one point, I did have Dewi Lake down as my starting hooker because I wanted Sheehan off the bench, but now I don't think I can justify that in good conscience. We've all also gone Andrew Porter, which I think is interesting because he's not an uncontroversial player in terms of the comments about his scrummaging. Both Ben and I have gone for Fagerson, and Caolan's gone for him off the bench. Now, the one that no one else has gone for here is Caolan's gone for Furlong off in the starting 15, and he's given the reason of cohesion. But I put it to you, Caolan, that it's been a hot minute since Ty Furlong did anything particularly noteworthy at that international level.
That is fair, but I think the flip argument to that is so. I think my audio's after changing there. Apologies. Tadhg Furlong was so dominant for Ireland and as a player that anything less than his like 2018 to 2021 level seems like a regression. But in reality, I actually think last year we actually seen how good Tadhg Furlong was when he wasn't there. Granted, Finlay Bean had a great tournament, and he is my third choice tight head prop on this tour. Toss of a coin between him and Will Stewart, I will say. Will Stewart could go further. We'll get into all that a little bit later on. But for me, I just think with Furlong, I think they're going to back him. I think he just has the quality. He has the experience as well, which is a factor. So I do think he'll go. And we all agreed on Porter Sheehan. I don't think you can disagree on Fagerson being in there, but I just think Furlong is going to get that nod if he stays fit.
I just think it's been a bit too long since he's done something noteworthy for me, and I just can't pick it on form. Now we might have debates similar like that further down in the selection, but just for me, I think Fagerson is doing it week in, week out at every level. And I think Will Stewart has played himself in. I never would have picked Will Stewart before this Six Nations. But for me, he's been good in the loose, and England's scrum, statistically, I think they've won 1 in 3 of their scrums. They've won via penalty, which is amazing.
That's incredible. Yeah, that is incredible.
So I think he deserves credit for that. I also
the highest scrum penalty percentage or something like that relative to other teams. So incredible.
Yeah, and they've got the best scrum success as well. Or at least they did after round 4. I've gone Genge. You two have gone Schumann. I've gone Genge because he's more active around the pitch. So what do you think for you guys swings it for Schumann over Genge?
Post-contact meters and overall aggression levels, I think.
Really? Because that's what Genge is known for.
See, I don't know, but I haven't watched as much of England during the Six Nations as Scotland, so there's a bias here. But I just think Schumann just gets in. I feel like Schumann has got himself around the park impeccably well. And I think, although we lost last night, and there's reasons why we lost last night that I don't want to get into because I'm still a bit cross about it. Schumann was in the front row actually did very, very well last night, I think, against a pretty strong French front five. So, yeah, I think Schumann has played himself onto that bench in the last 3 or during the tournament. I wouldn't have picked him at the start of the tournament, but I would now over Genge.
And we've all gone for Jamie George. Is that just for the been there, done that factor, the leadership, having him on to finish the game, a finisher?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think Sheehan goes 70 anyways. So I think having Jamie George there as a kind of half break glass in case of emergency, half experience type would be no harm. And the fact that we've mentioned this about a couple of players, Jamie George, maybe a James Ryan type, a Jack Morgan potentially. There's a couple of guys there you could see as midweek captains if they did split the tour into 2, which I could definitely see Farrell doing. And George is just there is not a single person who's played with Jamie George who doesn't like him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
he's
include
got
Lions
that
in that.
utmost respect for him. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right, into the second rows then. So Ben, give me both of your locks.
I've gone for Maro Toji at 4 and Ty Burn at 5.
A lot of logic there, I think we'll say. What about yourself, Caolan?
Itoje and Burn as well. Although I will say, I think one of those is in a lot better form than the other.
I think that's fair to say. I wonder if we
While
agree on
you're
which one.
while you're typing that, Hugh, just want to mention Xander Pegson. He played 80 minutes last night and didn't look out of puff, which stands him in good stead to be the starting tight end. I think.
I think he's phenomenal. I think he's phenomenal.
Himself and Sheen to start and go 80 minutes on the Lions, because why not?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I also go for Itoje, and I pick again another one that I wouldn't have picked before the Six Nations. David Jenkins,
Oh, I like that shout.
because he's just relentless. Like there was a ruck. I don't want to talk about it. Wales got well beaten yesterday, and there was a ruck where he was proper giving Alwyn Jones vibes of like, will you just stop? Like Dave, the ball is safe. Like stop trying to just get involved, but he just wouldn't. And all his stats, whether it's his line out work, Wales's maul is underrated, or just his unrelenting tackle work rate or his unrelenting rucking. I just think that he's a good candidate. I don't think he'd play the full 80, although he is playing the full 80 for Wales at the moment. But for me, I think he's in better form than Tyburn. So, what
That is fair.
is it fair to say that Tyburn is in this second row? Now, I'm careful I'm not setting myself up for a fall here. He's in this because of credit in the bank?
Yeah, I think so. And I don't mean to be disrespectful to Pike because he's been an unbelievable servant for Munster and for Ireland the last couple of years. I think he's Ireland's second best ever second row of all time, if I'm being honest. But I think there is an element of credit in the back. I don't think he's been as good. I think by his own admission, the changes to the how defending teams can go after the 9 has hurt him because he's just an absolute nuisance at the breakdown. But as well as that, I think Ireland's move to an off-ball game plan hasn't really suited because if you're going to be this incredible defensive nuisance, you don't want to be defending for 60% of the game. Do you know, there's that kind of juxtaposition. It's very hard to do it when you're on kind of the back foot the whole way through. And I think he's suffered. I think he looks a bit tired. I don't think, look, we're not going to talk about each games and there's those different podcasts to do that on, but I think Ireland looked really tired the last 2 weeks. They look like a team who are out on their feet for whatever reason. Some of that is just flogging a dead horse type situation, and Tyburn is one of them. I'd still have him in there. I'd still back him. I would have a concern maybe Itoje Byrne or Itoje Jenkins just too light for second row pairing, but we shall see.
I think a few Ireland players, unfortunately, I don't think any Ireland players have played themselves into that line squad. I think a few may have potentially played them out, either the starting 15 or the squad in its entirety. I think that's how I see it.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Who's your bench cover? And at this point, you can reveal to me whether you have 2 locks on the bench or not. So Ben, who's your bench cover at lock?
I went for Ollie Chesham, so I only have 1 bench lock.
Okay, Caolan?
Joe McCarthy.
McCarthy. And I went for Tyburn on the bench. And now I agonized over this. I thought long and hard about putting Burn at 6. I spent a lot of time mulling it over. It was the one selection that I just couldn't make my mind up. And it's the one that I've settled on now, and I would have my mind most easily changed on. You know, I've put Jenkins in the second row, which not many people might agree with. So they take it or leave it. But I've only got 1 second row cover on the bench as well, and I've decided to make that Tyburn. And like I said, I've ummed and ahed over that a lot. It's the one I'm least convicted of. Okay, let's talk about blindside flanker. Actually, should we do both flankers at the same time? Let's do 6 and 7. So,
well, will we start with 8? Because I think we all have the same number 8.
Okay, go on then. So, anyone not got Doris?
I have got Doris as 8.
I've Doris as captain. I think
I'm captain.
One of his worst performances in an Irish shirt, which is saying something because he's had a very good run in his 50 caps. But I still think he's kind of nailed on. I think there's a Farrell factor there. Do you know?
Can I put forward, because I've never heard anyone do it, can I put forward a case against Caelan Doris? And I'm saying this knowing
Yes.
I have picked him at number 8 and as captain. The case against Doris is this. So Doris, post the 2023 Six Nations, where Ireland won the Grand Slam, he went into the World Cup aiming to be the captain in an Ireland team that was the first ever to get past the quarterfinal of a World Cup and didn't. He then went into a Six Nations that was aiming to be the first ever team to win back-to-back Grand Slams and didn't. He then went back to Leinster and aimed to win the 5th star and didn't. He then went to Pretoria to try and win the URC and didn't. And now he's tried to be the captain of the first team to go 3 back-to-back-to-back Six Nations titles and didn't. So now I'm sure that Caelan Doris is a very psychologically strong man, but at what point do you start to ask questions there?
That's very
Now.
fair. I mean, I like Caelan Doris as a player. I think he's probably the right man for the Ireland captaincy. But has the captaincy weighed on him with Ireland, potentially? Is he a great communicator? I seen some tweets last week about how it was Gardner last week, wasn't it, for the French game?
Yep.
Yeah. About how he was just brushing him aside and it's not fair. But like, if this always happens to Leinster and Ireland, it's not the referee's fault. Do you know what I mean? It's probably an issue within Ireland, and it happens to quite an awful lot of captains in Ireland. So I think that's a factor. I still think Farrell will go with Doris. I think it makes sense. He's probably going to be your starter. There's probably a better chance of Ben Earl at 7 than Ben Earl at 8. And he's the only other real contender. But I think there is a very fair question to be raised, especially when Maro Itoje, in his first full Six Nations as England captain, has had one of his best. And it's such a weird thing to say because we're so used to like Maro Itoje just being consistently excellent. He's been very, very good for England these last couple of weeks.
Agreed. Okay,
I think Itoje's in for a shout for the captaincy. I think he's closer to Doris than he would have been at the start of the tournament for the reasons you outlined.
Itoje for Lions captain has come round in both of the last 2 Lions tours, even though he wasn't captaining either England or Saracens. I think there was a lot of media kind of, there's a story here. Like in the 2017 tour, it was Finn Russell should go and then he didn't. And then the media had already laid the groundwork of that being a talking point, even though he obviously wasn't going to go. When he didn't get picked, they had a story all written, bits recorded, ready to launch. But this is the first time that Itoje, I think, has been able to say, yes, I am a contender for captain properly. Let's double back to the flankers now then. So, Ben, who's your 6 and 7?
Jack Morgan and Rory Darge.
Ooh, interesting.
I like it.
Caelan, yours?
I've made a last minute change. I was going back and forth on this for so long. I've gone with Ollie Chessum and Jack Morgan. Chessum is the last minute change. Morgan, I don't know how anyone, and I'm in group chats with these people who I'm great friends with. I don't know how you can watch the Six Nations and not have Jack Morgan as a line starter at the moment. He was so good.
So, I also made a last minute change to my team, and it's exactly the same as Caelan's. I have gone for Chessum and Morgan. I think Chessum has played his way onto it. I wouldn't have picked him before the tournament. And I think him being that lock 6 hybrid, I'm a fan of that as a setup. And like you said, Caelan, Morgan has to be in the team. I don't object to playing him at 6. I don't think he's necessarily an out and out 7, like in a traditional sense. But he's got to be in the team. He absolutely has to be. Ben,
He was
Go on.
originally on my bench. So my swap was so Van der Fleer is going to be my sub back row. I originally had Van der Fleer and Morgan. And I just looked at it again in the cold light of day and went, gotta go Chessum. I would love like a Chessum McCarthy bench on a 6-2 or in a 5-3 even, whichever. That'll be a lot of fun. But I said, you know what, Chessum and Morgan and Doris, there's great balance there. I'll go with those 2. 3 even.
So Ben, you've doubled down on Darge.
Yeah, I just think he's a co-captain, and I think he probably has more leadership than Finn Russell on that Scotland side. And I think it came to the fore yesterday. I think we bullied France for a lot of that game yesterday until they replaced their entire. They had a 7-1 bench and brought 5 or 6 players on after 45, 46 minutes, and we were well into that game. We should have been playing against 14 men for the vast majority of that game yesterday. It was a very poor officiating decision. But I think Rory Darge again, just every game he's played, he has just been immense. He's effective. He's brilliant at the breakdown. Him and Jamie Ritchie yesterday were again winning turnovers. Fun. Jamie Ritchie again, I think got 2 or 3 turnovers, and Rory Darge maybe got a couple of his own. Yeah, I just think he has
Yeah.
that. I know he's small in stature, but his power is insane, and I think he's just driving through rocks.
That is the thing. That is the
just
thing
makes
with
him he's
your
chaotic.
flankers is it's two small men.
Mhm.
And size isn't everything, but if you compare to Chessman and Morgan and Doris, there's obviously a size factor there. Morgan's not a line-out athlete. I don't know whether Darge is. So it's
Maybe.
But I
it's
think
a
Morgan and
little
Van
bit
der
on the
Fleer
small
wouldn't
side.
work. You'd have no line out
Yeah,
option.
the other thing you got to think about is I'm looking at the potential Aussie back rowers, McWright, Tizano, Valentini, and Harry Wilson are sort of the form. Rob Liott is obviously in the conversation as well. And I think Scotland, we tend to battle the Aussies into submission in the back row. In the back row forwards. I've noticed that every time we played them, like we've only lost them once in the last since 2015. We've only lost them once, and that was a close game at Murrayfield back in 2022, I think it was. And we always dominate their pack. Every single time we played them, we dominate their pack. And Rory Darge has been the reason for that, particularly last year when we beat them. So I think you've got to look at the opposition as much as the strength of that squad. And I think having smaller flankers may not be a bad thing against that Wallabies back row. That's why I look at it.
Okay.
I've gone for Van der Fleer on the bench as well, just as
I
Caolan is.
I think that Darge tours, I think he's been fantastic. If I'm being completely honest, I think Jack Morgan did a job on him up in Murrayfield.
Mhm.
And if it's a straight choice between Morgan and Darge, Darge is unlucky. Look, there's always amazing sevens going around, and I'm just
Yeah.
siding with Morgan. And I like the 6-lock hybrid. It's my flavor of the month, and I just feel like I said, Morgan and Darge is a bit too small, too similar. For my bench,
Especially if your second row pairing is going to be Byrne Itoje or Itoje Jenkins. That's generally small, lighter. I think it makes a lot of sense. I'm not saying, Ben, you're wrong. I do love the composition of your pack there because I think it's all energy. But if you are slightly worried about Australia's power forwards, getting someone like Chesham in there makes
Mhm.
a bit more sense for me. But like I was tossing and turning, I was going Van der Fleer and Morgan. The reason I went with Chesham is I just looked at it and I'm like, too small for me. Gotta go with someone else. And Chesham for me, I think you said, he's just played his way into it. And sometimes you do have to tip your cap to that at like its face value. Now, I think he had a brilliant 2024 Six Nations as well. But I think he's played his way into it. If he can stay fit, I think there's a huge chance there for him.
on
Yeah.
my bench, I've gone for Ben Earl
Yeah,
and
I can see the argument for that. Yeah.
Lupe Faletau.
Gone 6-2.
I'm going 6-2. And I think Faletau off the bench is a luxury, but it's a luxury I'd like to have. Thank you. And it gives you.
I'm now realizing I could have went 6-2 when I look at my bench. But anyways.
So the reason I've gone Ben Earl is I think he brings that something different. He's got a lot of points of difference as a player, and looking at the stats and things, he is impressive. And for all of how long it was a joke, and maybe we all owe Stephen Jones an apology because he does look viable at 12. It does look like it works.
So
At least
if you're bringing both Ben Earl and Faletau on, how do you squeeze them in to
well,
your
you
back
can
row? What do
put
you do?
you can put Chesham to the second row. You've got options there.
Mhm.
Doris can move to 6. I think I'm not absolutely hell bent that Jack Morgan is an 80-minute man. So
Okay.
he might be one that comes off. And then it's a question
That
of,
makes sense too. I think Morgan for Earl as a substitution would make sense.
yeah.
Mhm.
And then, like I said, Faletau is a luxury, but at Lions level, you can have that kind of luxury.
Mm.
And then, like with second rows, it just depends how people are going. Maro Itoje is probably the one that plays 80.
Yeah.
So, and then you've also got that you can change it up, like I said in the previous episode. If the 6 flank hybrid lock thing isn't working, you can put Doris to 6 or you can put Morgan to 6 and change it up and go for a different strategy. So there's tactical versatility there for me.
And with the Toje and Byrne, they're two lads who typically go 80 for their national team as well. So if they do start, you could like right, we're going to move Burn to six, bring on Chet, bring on whoever. Do you know what I mean? You have a lot of guys there who can,
There's a bit of flexibility in there. Yeah.
yeah, there's a little bit of versatility, like time versatility as well.
Yeah. And I've gone quite England heavy in my replacement forwards because that you've got cohesion there. And if things aren't working out great, there's a very easy switch to flick and say, we'll change it up. And now you were playing Ireland, now you're playing England type thing.
And
So
can I throw a cat amongst the pigeons?
go on.
Based on 2025, what's the difference between Ireland and England, style-wise? They're very similar. Very similar. Both
Uh,
sides have an attacking structure, which is who's our flashiest man, and hope he does the rest for us. So for England, that would be to be confirmed. For Ireland, that's James Lowe. I think they're actually very similar compared to even this time last year. But that's a different conversation.
mm. Okay, on to scrum half then. So give me your starting and your replacement scrum half.
James Gibson Park and Ben White.
Okay, Caolan?
James Gibson Park and Thomas Williams.
And I have gone James Gibson Park, and I've also gone Ben White, which is a change that I made last minute. I intended to put Williams in because I believe that he is the most similar to James Gibson Park, and I think he is good, and I think he will tour. But I think over the 5 games, I think Ben White has just overtaken him now, and that is admitting something because going into the Six Nations, I'm not sure that I would have said that Ben White was Scotland's best scrum half. I'm a big George Horn fan. I like what Jamie Dobie brings as that kind of wing scrum half, like
Yeah.
hybrid player. And Ben White is third choice at Toulon. He's not been playing regularly at club level. He's not been playing Champions Cup rugby, but in this Six Nations, he's rocked up for Scotland when it matters.
I'd really like to see him come back to Edinburgh over the summer. I think there's a home for him at Edinburgh, to be honest. If he's not been talked about coming back to URC, then it should be because he's not been there. Obviously, he kind of had to fish around for a club after Irish went bust. But yeah, I think there's a home for him at Edinburgh, and I'd like to see him there because I do think we need another 9 because Ali Price is on his way out and Ben Vellacott is okay. But I think Ben White would add a lot to that Edinburgh backline. And he has played himself onto that bench. I think he was very, very good yesterday. I've been very impressed with his passing off the base of the ruck. His ruck speed's been pretty good. I think him and Finn Russell have got a really good understanding at 9 and 10. So Finn Russell's going to play 80 and Ben White comes on at 55, 60 minutes in. I think there's benefit there to the Lions squad and some strength there. Just looking at who the Aussie scrum halves will probably be. Obviously, you've got a couple in contention. You've got Nick White. And who else is sort of fancy? Jake Gordon and Tate McDermott. Jake Gordon's one of those very strange scrum halves. He's very tall. I've never seen a scrum half of that height before, the Waratahs number 9. And I think he's a bit of an odd player to sort of match up against. So it'd be interesting what Farrell's sort of thinking. If Jake Gordon starts, who do you think would be best placed to match up with him, whether it's Gibson, Park or White? Because we don't have a scrum half like Jake Gordon, and I think he's very, very good. And a different type of scrum half. I think there's a scrum half like him in the world, to be honest. So I think that's something that has to be considered. Is all our scrum halves are very similar, I think, in terms of style, in terms of ruck speed. So yeah, I think that's an interesting matchup to look forward to.
And on the starters, Caolan, we all would have said before the Six Nations, Jameson Gibson Park, and we're all saying it now. There have been some questions asked about him over the last couple of games.
I agree. I go back and forth with James Gibson Park. I think in some ways Ireland's move to an off-ball brand of rugby without much of an attacking structure means that Jameson Gibson Park is having to do everything. Jameson Gibson Park had 51 passes yesterday. I think he had something like 5 or 6 carries and 20 kicks, right? Jack Crowley touched about
20
25
kicks, that's a lot in one game for one man.
Sorry, I think Ireland had total 20 kicks, so he'd have had
okay.
12. Sorry. He got a lot of touches in that game considering he played about 64 minutes, something like that. Obviously, he's a 9, but everything is going through him, and I actually think that's taking away from him now. I think I've said this on this podcast. I don't think playing an off-9 brand of rugby really works at test level as much as it does at club level because you just don't have the time. You don't have the space. Defenses are too good. And I think his form is dick because of it. The reason I went with James Gibson Park and Thomas Williams, now, I'm not going to say who who my out halves are. I'll leave that a minute. But I just think Ben White is going into a couple of weeks where he's kind of going to be out of sight, out of mind. And I think that is going to hurt his chances. The one thing that
Hmm.
could save him is, where does Andy Farrell see Finn Russell in the pecking order? If he sees him as number one, that may actually hurt Ben White, because I think Gibson Park is the starter and it's nailed on. If he sees him as number two or three, that could help, because then you're going for a cohesive partnership.
Hmm. Okay, let's move on to outside half then. So we'll okay, I'll ask the question this way. Has anyone not got Finn Russell? Caolan's not got Finn Russell. Are you going Prendergast?
No, I've gone Finn Smith.
Smith.
Yeah, I look. I'm a big
I
Finn
need to, I
Smith
need to
fan.
differentiate F. Smith.
Yeah,
There
F
we go.
Smith. That's true. I'm a big Finn Smith fan. I think he has all the raw materials to be a star. I'm just gonna use the pompous term that's been around Ireland. He's got a higher ceiling than these guys. I'm so funny. No, I think he's a very good player. I think he'd be a good person to put beside Gibson Park as well. Arguably better than Russell. I'm not sure if Gibson Park and Russell would work as seamlessly together, where you have Finn Russell, who at Bath and at Scotland, they play off 10. And James Gibson Park, who at Ireland and at Leinster, play off 9. Not sure how that works. I think with Finn Smith, he's a little bit younger. Northampton play a lot more of a kick-heavy game than, say, Bath. Well, Bath, maybe not less so. But then, say, Scotland, I think he'd be more able to play alongside Gibson Park. So I've gone that way. But I cannot dispute that Finn Russell is going to be there. He's in my 23. He is my bench out half.
I think that Finn Russell has gotten to the point now where he can play whichever way. You want to play off 9, you want to play off 10, it's fine. I think that his game against Scotland yesterday is his best game of the Six Nations so far. I
Yeah.
didn't like that ITV spent so long talking about like the pass to Darcy that went wrong.
Darcy Graham, yeah.
Yeah, and they were like, "Oh, you just can't make those mistakes at that level." I'm like, "Just shut up. At least he's trying to make something happen." Like, there's so much that happened in that game. Why are you spending 10 minutes talking about this?
Mm.
But that's
It's the easy out.
yeah. So I think Finn Russell, and like I said, I wrote it in a piece this week that short of stepping on a landmine, he's there. But I've really rated Finn Smith. He's really impressed me. I think England looks so much better with him at 10 than they did with Marcus. I think it's night and day. There's the Northampton cohesion. I just think, and we'll come on to it later in the selections, how many other English backs are going to be in this team? If the answer's not many, and in the lines you don't have time to build up cohesion, I just don't I don't see him adding that value. I think at the moment I'd take him on the tour, but I don't think he's ready to be the Lions starting outside half, Ben.
Yeah, agreed. I think Finn Russell's a mercurial talent, and I think he can change his game to whatever suits Farrell's strategy. I think that's a conversation that I'd expect Farrell and Russell to be having quite soon. Like, this is the way I want to play over the summer. You know, how does that suit you? Because Finn Russell is a generational talent. I don't think we'll see a better 10 for Scotland ever, pre or post Russell's career. And I think at the moment, yes, that he has that sort of error in him, but the benefits far outweigh the risks of playing him at 10. And I think up against Noah Lolesio, I think he'll dominate him at 10, to be honest. I think Finn Russell's exactly the right person to put in that shirt, and he thoroughly deserves it. I think you saw it at the last Lions tour. He had that little injury, a little ankle injury, so obviously he didn't start, and then he came on in the third game. I think did he replace Dan Bigger really early on in that third test and
In the
pulled the
third
strings?
test, yeah.
And unfortunately, Lions could have won. There was a couple of opportunities that went begging, but it wasn't Russell. Russell actually got dragged the Lions to scruff the net back into that match after a pretty chastening second test defeat. So I think he goes. And again, going back to our record against Australia, is very, very good. And Finn Russell has been the reason for us beating Australia on numerous occasions over the last 10 years. So yeah, I think he's a shoe-in. Finn Smith's my replacement 10. I don't think there's another 10 in the conversation. Prendergast has played himself out. I think Marcus Smith isn't going to. I think Marcus Smith will go, but I don't think he might necessarily go as a 10.
He's not going as a fullback. I don't know. Some people were talking him up against Wales. I thought he was bad against Wales.
I think Marcus Smith, a bit like Prendergast, have sort of been contenders at the start and have now started to play themselves out. I don't think Owen Farrell's going to go either. I don't know who the third 10 will be at the moment. I think it will be a toss-up between Smith and Prendergast. I think probably I'd land on Prendergast. I think he offers a little bit different, but Marcus Smith is not is not the talent that I think he was kind of
Can I
anticipated to
throw
be a
out that
couple of years.
question so because we don't know when we'll speak again. The coaches get announced in 2 weeks' time, but the squad won't be till May. What is everyone's three out halves? Or third out half, sorry.
Tom Costello. No.
I mean, he's better than other choices, but anyways.
I don't know, Roman Intermac. It's a problem position. It's a problem position. I don't know because I just don't feel it'll probably take Prendergast is what I expect will happen, but I'm not sure that I feel comfortable with Finns, Smith, and Russell and Prendergast being the three. That is a very different picture to, as we said last time, taking Farrell, Bigger,
Bigger and Finn,
and Sexton.
That's my concern.
No.
I would go if Owen Farrell can get any semblance of form, I'd take him over Sam, to be honest. I think I'd take Marcus Smith over the Irish lads, ultimately. Anscombe,
I feel like
arguably.
taking Marcus Smith is planning to fail.
Yeah, but what have we seen from Ireland that has been so much better? Like Ireland just finished third in the Six Nations. If Andy Farrell wasn't head coach, they would not be getting all these 50-50s. Do you know?
Yeah.
Like that's a factor. And like ultimately, it's the last episode of the show. I can say it now. Ireland have picked their second best out half for the entirety of the Six Nations. And I think that is very evident on the performances that we've seen. And some of that is not on the tens, it is on the fact that Ireland have an attack coach who arguably you two guys could have done better. I'm not gonna put myself in that mix because I'd have just been a provincialistic person. But I think ultimately that was part of Ireland's downfall. It's not all on the 10, but neither of the tens showed that they should be in Lions contention over their cameos. And I think whether you like him or not, and whether you love the rugby Jesus stick or absolutely hate it, Marcus Smith has done more than either of the Irish lads. Finn Smith has done more than either of the Irish lads in terms of European form, pretty much equal to Jack Rowley on club form, one league title each. Finn Russell is the guy. It's gonna be so annoying saying Finn and having to stop yourself and say Finn Russell in this tour. It's gonna be so frustrating. But yeah, I think there's a chance that we see two Scottish, two Irish, two English halfbacks. But I could also very easily see Owen Farrell being the second English out half for Marcus Smith.
There's a chance for a wild card of Owen Farrell going, but when's he back when's he next due to play for Racing? Because how many games has he missed this season?
He hasn't played since January, and he's had less than 2 full 80s since October.
And he's what, 33 now? Is he 32, 30? He's older than Finn, isn't he? I don't know. I really don't know. I think it's probably Andy Farrell's biggest question is who do you take as your third 10?
Yeah.
Is it there isn't an obvious one. There isn't an obvious
And
candidate.
there's two guys that he's been insanely loyal to as well. Do you know?
Yeah.
Like obviously you'd be loyal to your own son. I'm not saying you wouldn't. It's very obvious you'd be loyal to your son. But he's been loyal to Sam as well. And I think that's where they have the advantage over everyone else. If they can get any semblance of form back. And again, Europe is going to paint a picture. Do you know?
Yeah.
Like Finn Smith and Sam Prendergast are going to be the only ones to have any chance of going deep in Europe.
Inside centre then. So, spoiler alert, I do not have a specialist 10 on the bench. So I'm going to leave that blank for the second.
I think we all know who yours.
Oh, yes, I think anybody who knows anything about me knows who I'm picking. So,
yeah, I was going to say something else, but now I've realised who it is.
Inside. Oh no, tell me both your centres then. So Ben, who is your centre pairing?
I've gone for Bundy and Hugh Jones.
Oh no, he's not called Bundy, is he? He's called Aki and Jones. Caolan?
I've gone for an all-Irish centre pairing. I don't believe it's Ireland's best all-Irish centre pairing, but I've gone with Bundy Aki and Gary Ringrose.
Didn't Ringrose have 5 tackles and they were all missed yesterday?
No, he had 10 tackles, missed 5, which is very much out half numbers in the Six Nations. To be fair, I usually defend him, but like the read he had on the
yesterday,
he fucked that. Like he got caught flat-footed, and he had a couple of bad ones. Tackle school, not defending school, by the way, guys.
I've gone for Hugh Jones and Sione Tuipulotu.
Will he be back?
I know that that's controversial because he's the one player, 2E, who Lotto. Okay, I know that's controversial because he's the one player who we haven't seen in this Six Nations. But
Mm,
I was looking at it and I'm thinking, I've made the decision of Jones over Ringrose. I'd made that call. And then I'm looking at it and thinking, I've picked Finn Russell, I've picked Hugh Jones, so I should pick a Scottish 12 because you need that cohesion in the centres. And I think that Tuipulotu, I just think his ceiling's so high. And I love Bundyaki. He's like my favourite Irish player, but he's lost out on the cohesion countback of the, do you know what? And if we go on, I'll tell you now, I'm picking more Scottish people in my backline. It's a very Scotland heavy backline that I'm going to be
it's
picking,
like,
and
and
it,
obviously that's the same for me. Yeah.
it helps his cause a lot. And is that if I'm there asking myself, is there anything that Tuipulotu really can't do that Aki can? I don't think there's much between them. I don't think I'm
I,
losing out
I
on much.
I think you're right. I think my only concern is we haven't seen him in the tournament. If we had, I would have picked him. I don't know when he's going to be
Yeah.
back fit for Glasgow. That's the only thing, is how soon and how long is he going to have to play? Is he going to make it back before the end of the regular season? There's only what, 6, 7 games left. A couple of, a game in Europe to come. He's not going to make that. I think the likelihood he's going to be back is what, end of April, start of May. But it is the business end of the season. But how much time is he going to get to get back to match fitness? I'd like to think he'll come straight back in and it'll be like he's never left. I think he has that ability. He is mercurial at 12, but I just need to see him play before I can put him over Aki, which is why I've gone for Aki at the moment.
Hmm. Oh yeah, like I said, I love Bundy, but and it's a difficult one to justify because we haven't seen him. But
It's a big ask to get back fit as well.
yeah,
Like to get back
It's
up
a it's a
to that standard.
it's a nasty injury he's sustained as well. It's not an easy one. Yeah,
Hmm.
particularly the way he plays. I think it's the worst type of injury for someone that has that aggressive, no nonsense style.
And my cover on the bench for the back line is Tom Jordan because
Same.
he has the positional versatility and he has the cohesion. That's just my reasoning for it. Caolan, do you have centre cover on the bench?
I do.
Who is it?
I if listeners or viewers remember, I did say one of the 13s will start and one of the 13s will be on the bench. So I've gone with
Robbie
Hugh Jones on
Henshaw.
the bench.
Are you confusions?
Yeah. That's how I see it going. I think Ringrose or Jones will be in the 23 shirt if they're fit, if I'm honest.
Cool. So has everybody named a full bench now?
Yeah, I've gone five
Yes.
three.
Okay, cool. Right. Let's do wingers now. Left wing. Ben, who you got?
I've gone for two, Han.
Van de Merwe. Caolan, left wing.
I have gone for the best Southern Hemisphere born left winger in the Six Nations. I've gone with James Lowe.
Didn't have to say it, and who's typing it.
I have also gone for James Lowe. I can't see not playing James Lowe. He's not a conventional winger. And if you wrote down all the things that you want from a winger, you would say that James Lowe doesn't have a lot of those things.
Big
But
left boot.
yeah, can't ignore the big left boot. And
Van der Moer is not Irish all of a sudden.
oh, sorry, I forgot where he was from. uh,
Ha ha.
so yeah, so I've gone for James Lowe on that left wing. Like I said, he's got that. He knows the Farrell game plan. His left boot is a cheat code. He is Ireland's most razzle dazzle player. He's got the physicality, and I think we've all agreed. Or maybe we'll see in a minute. It's just straight choice between James Lowe and Duan van der Merwe. And for me, Duan van der Merwe is a flat track bully. So I've gone for James Lowe. That's my opinion. What about the right wing, Ben?
I've gone for Darcy Graham, but it's a toss up between him and Tommy Freeman. But then Freeman did play at centre yesterday, which is where I've gone for Graham.
Yeah. Caolan?
Freeman.
I have also gone for Graham. And this was another toss up as well. I had Freeman in there a lot, but I just think that Graham is a problem solver on the pitch. That's my reasoning for it. He can just get you out of jail. He can do something that's not in the script. I think that's what Ireland and Leinster have been missing for so long, is someone who can just go, I'm going to do something not written down in the plan now, lads. And I think Graham does that better than Doohan. I think
My
that
one thing for Darcy Graham ahead of Tommy Freeman, or for Freeman or Graham, Freeman is probably more in the Farrell mold in terms of big, strong man, good in the air. He's basically an extra centre. But for
Yep.
Graham, as you said, he brings that attack and spark. He brings that something just a little bit different. I think both of them tour. Like I've said this before, I think both of them
Agree.
tour. It's just what way you want to go. I think you could make a case that if Ringrose starts, Graham is a better option, and if Jones starts, Freeman's a better option because Ringrose is more that kind of shut down center with Jones being the playmaker, so you could just kind of
Mhm.
balance it between the two. Now, obviously, you got to go the cohesion route, and as an Irishman, and we're told that we're not allowed to look at Scotland as our equals, I should be absolutely appalled at Ben's Scottishness on that team because there's just too many. And I think we all have the same fullback anyway. I think we could just stop beating around the bush there. But I'll leave that.
Yeah,
I'll leave that until the squad is named and I can do the point scoring then.
I would be very happy with Freeman on the bench. I think he's better in the air than Darcy Graham, but like I said, I think if you've got James Lowe on one wing and Darcy Graham on the other, I think you've got the solution to any problem. I think
Mhm.
you can do whatever you like there. So that's my reasoning for it. Fullback, anyone not got Blair Kinghorn?
I've got Blair King on.
His stats are miles clear of everybody else's in pretty much everything.
I think he had the chance to be player of the tournament if we'd beaten England and gone into that game yesterday with a chance of winning the championship. He won't now because we finished fourth, but I think he will be. He should make team of the tournament. But I think he did have a shout player of the tournament at one point because he's been unbelievable. The amount he carried yesterday, was 100. It was well over 100 meters, in excess of 100 meters. The entire back line carried in excess of 100 meters each. I think Darcy Duan and Kinghorn, and Kinghorn's burst through that. I know his bum ended up being in touch or half of his elbow or whatever it was, but still to have that foresight to break a line like that against pretty well sort of marshalled French defense was impeccable. And
Mm.
I think since he's left Edinburgh and gone to Toulouse, he's become a far better player. I think he's now close to the world class bracket in terms of his position. I think he's possibly the best fullback in the world right now. And I think, yeah, he is just he's refined his play. I think he used to have errors in him. He did when the 10 experiment at Edinburgh didn't really go to plan, and then they obviously pushed him back to 15 when he went to Toulouse, or 14. And I just think he offers you so much more than any other fullback, both north and south at the moment. And I think any team would have him as a starting 15 at the moment.
Hmm. Hmm.
I would agree, bar one part. I think Thomas Ramos might be a better player. But like
Mm.
again, that is a toss of a coin. I think for Kinghorn, I came into this thinking if Hugo Keenan plays to Hugo Keenan levels, he has nailed down the starting 15 shirt. Again,
But he
the
didn't
Irish
play
factor. I'm not
didn't
going
play those
incredibly
levels, though,
Irish
did he?
because hmm?
He didn't play those levels, though, I don't think, did
No,
he?
not even
No.
close. And I think there's a question to be asked about whether Hugo Keenan has suffered from three things. Ireland's phase attack just being generally awful, and he's only getting balls off tip on passes and no room to maneuver. He's incredibly quick. He should not be basically crashing up the middle. Two, the defensive frailties that Ireland have had. I think he suffered from that because he's played as an auxiliary 13 in defence, which, like, Hugo Keenan's biggest asset was his ability to cover ground in the backfield. Taking that off him has really, stymied Ireland. I think you could make a claim that BLBRE try does not happen if Hugo Keenan's at fullback as opposed to Sam. Do you know what I mean? Because he is so quick as well. Also, can we pick Louis BLBRE? No? Okay.
Mm.
And
Be nice.
then the third bit just being that I think the new contestable kicking laws has been a factor, to be honest. I think he's not as prevalent in the air now because of it. Kinghorn is a big man. He dominates the air.
Yeah.
A lot
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
Irish people.
Every game he has got better, I think, during the tournament, and watching him play club rugby for Toulouse, it's just, yeah, he is just not the same person he was at Edinburgh. He has just improved in every single aspect of what you expect a fullback to be able to do. Good in the air, good at passing. His kick, he's got such a good kicking range. He covers that back line so well, and I just think, yeah, he was already on the plane, but he's definitely starting 15, and he plays 80 minutes. I don't think you need to replace him. I think he'll play full 80, and he can move to one of the wings if needed. So he does have that utility kind of aspect to his game, which I think probably tips him over Hugo Keenan. But like you say, Keenan is. I don't think it's his fault. I think it's the way that Ireland have changed their game management this tournament under Easterby over Farrell. And I think he's just not been as prevalent as he once was. I think last year he was a fantastic player. Obviously, went play for sevens in the Olympics. Whether that's had an impact on him, I don't know, because obviously that's a very, very different style, and whether he's had enough time to get back into sort of the 15 style of play, I don't know. But yeah, I think King on goes and King on starts the first test.
And
I
can I
think he's
raise the
probably the.
point? Go on. No, go on. You finish
Up there,
first.
no, I think up there, up with the captain. I think King On's probably one of the first names on team sheets. To be honest, at the moment, I think
I
it's
agree.
difficult, yeah, to see anything else than that at the moment.
I was just going to raise the point that when you look at that 23, and I don't think anyone has a particularly bad call in the 23, if I'm being entirely honest. But are Scotland kind of benefiting a small bit from being the more highlight reel team here?
Well,
Because at the end of the day, right, and look, I've been very critical of Ireland, and Hugh has been very critical of England, and Ben has been critical of everyone. No, I'm only joking. I'm only joking. Like Scotland there have 10 from Ben and 8 from Hugh. They only have 5 from me because I think it's going to be cohesion ball from Farrell if he gets his way. Like, I don't know. I just don't see how the team that came fourth in the Six Nations are going to make up the lion's share of a Lions Test 23 when that just never happens.
but it's always the back line though. The back line's the thing that's loaded up, and I would contest that if you're talking about a team that came fourth, if you go man for man, Scotland versus England, who in the back line, I think Scotland win. Well, look, according to my selection, they win on every count. I think Freeman has got an argument to be in there. I think Finn Smith has played very well. Apart from that, am I taking
If
am I
Lawrence
taking
was fit,
Fraser
it might be
Dingwall
a conversation.
over am I
But
taking Fraser Dingwall over Hugh Jones? No. Am I taking Henry Slade
Henry
over
Slade.
Tuipulotu? No. Am I
yeah, but you're also
taking
taking Tom Jordan over essentially Bundy Aki or Gary Ringles. Both of you. Oh,
well,
sorry.
it's because
No, you
Tom
you
Jordan is
you've
my
Aki there,
utility
sorry, but
back. Yeah, Tom
I get
Jordan's a
that.
utility back. That's why he's in there. It's I think that's fair. I don't think many English players make Scotland's backline. I think Freeman's pretty much the only one.
Which is fair. But at the
And
same time, the Six Nations is a massive. Well, again, we don't know who the unit coaches are going to be. I have an idea, but I'm not going to say because it's not been reported on yet, so I can't. I'm not going to break it out there. But if it's like Steve Tandy or someone, yeah, absolutely, they've got a better shot. But we don't know yet. We don't
but
know, and it
what
could be a very Irish-looking coaching team, and that's not that's a warning, people. It could be a very Irish-looking coaching team.
what the way I look at it is, although we finished fourth in that Six Nations tournament, we are a hair's breadth away and a slightly incorrect refereeing decision away from beating England at Twickenham. And I don't think anyone would have said that we didn't deserve to win that. I think it was a somewhat pyrrhic victory for England that day. They didn't deserve to win. We should have won, and we should have won comfortably, and we didn't. I'm not saying officiating's the only reason, but there were a couple of things that we didn't convert. Again, yesterday, we should probably played against 14 for about 65 minutes of that game. I'm still astounded by how that decision was made. It was a red, it was a blatant red, and it should have stayed a red. There was no need for that to be, bunker under review. It should have been a red from the instant that Matthew Carley saw that on the screen. And I think, again, I don't want to sound salty, but there's a couple of decisions that have gone against us again. And I know it's 50-50s and those little kind of 1% sort of moments, but they do matter. And I think, but for a couple of decisions, we would probably be going into that tournament yesterday 3-1 instead of 2-2 and had an opportunity to win the tournament. So I think the stats kind of don't lie. I think the Scottish back line has been very, very impressive throughout the tournament. Again, apart from the Ireland game where we just didn't really show up. But I think I
And
can't
with
look
backs,
beyond those
it
four.
gets to the point where once you've picked a few, you might as well pick the rest as well. Like I said, I'm picking Tuipulotu because I'm already picking Russell and Jones, and so that's kind of my logic for it. But again, it's all backed heavy. I've only picked one Scottish forward, which is Sander Ferguson, and that how good has he had to be in order to earn that?
Yeah.
Which is fair.
So if I'm looking at players who we've all picked, no, you can't see that. We've
Just
all
just go italic, I think.
we've all picked to start Porter and Sheehan and Itoje.
Yeah.
We've all picked
JGP.
Doris.
Jack Morgan.
We've all
Doris
picked
and
Jack
Jack
Morgan.
Morgan.
Yeah, we have in different positions, but we've all picked Jack Morgan. We've all picked Doris and Jameson Gibson Park. We've all picked King Horn.
Okay.
And is there anyone
Yeah,
else
that's
that
it.
we've all picked? That's it.
I kind of scuppered it on you there with my Freeman and Ringrose picks.
Hmm. So to adjust the bias, Ben has picked 10 Scottish players, more than any other nation in his 23. Caolan has picked 11 Irish players in his 23 and only 5 Scottish, which is objectively funny. I have picked 6 England, 6 Ireland, 8 Scotland, but that is heavily skewed by the back line, and 3 Welsh. So I've picked the most Welsh players, and I'm the Wales fan on the pod. So there you go.
That's probably the most like Alliance team I would like to see. I'm not picking, as I said before, I'm not picking this Irish lads because I think they're all nailed on. I'm picking them because that's what I think Andy Farrell is going to go for. If I was to pick a Lions team, I'm a lot closer to your team, Hugh, than anyone else's, including my
Well,
own.
there you go. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We've just got time for the ultimate bolter. So this doesn't have to be someone that we've already spoken about in this series. So if someone who no one has spoken about, who you think has got a shout, Ben, who are you saying?
Freddie Douglas, just to go.
Explain to people who Freddie Douglas is.
So he plays for Edinburgh under 20s, and he did play in the autumn test, and I think he was probably going to be a shoe-in for the Six Nations. I wouldn't say he would have started beyond Darge and Richie, but I think he would have had a chance to be on the bench, considering what our bench back options are like at the moment, because there it is quite shallow. And I think he's a generational talent, and I think if he played in the Six Nations, he might have been started in the senior as opposed to under 20s. I think he might have started to get talked about as a potential bowler just because of his age and his frame and his guile and his talent. He was a bully against the French on Friday night, and I just think if he hadn't picked up the injury a couple of months ago, he would have been in the conversation. I don't. It doesn't matter how old you are. If you're ready, you're ready. Itoje was ready, wasn't he, at an early age? You can say that Daffer Jenkins was ready at an early
George
age.
North.
I mean, was it George North was ready at an early age? There's people that are just ready. They're ready to go. And Darcy Graham was ready at an early age. I think he's 20. He's first cap for Scotland. So yeah, I think if you're ready, you're ready, and I don't think you need to wait for these people to bed in. They're ready to go, and I think Freddie Douglas, if he'd been fit for the entirety of the tournament, would have been a potential contender as a bolter.
Caolan, for your ultimate bolter, it's a bit difficult because if Farrell was going to pick anybody, he's already picked them. So it's difficult to name an Irish bolter.
Yep, that's true. I was trying to think of what the weakest positions in the squad are. I could just say Jack Hurley because it would just be objectively very funny if I did. No, I'll stay with Munster halfback. I'll go Conor Murray because I just think if we're gonna say like Jamie George could get in because Hookers is up in the air, there's a chance. Like I'm not saying it's a cert. I'm not like this is a proper bolter, but like he could. Do you know what I mean? Midweek guy, be on the bench every game, that kind of stuff. Definitely could. He's already what, 3 Lions tours deep? Pick him. Be fun. Get him to 4. Ireland's best ever scrum half. Get him to 4 Lions tours.
My bolter, Ben's kind of gazumped me by picking an under-20s player, which is more boltery than my bolter. But my bolter is, someone said this to me the other day, and now I can't shake it, is Justin Tipuric. Because he is working miracles at the Ospreys. When the Ospreys were bad in the first half of the season, he was keeping them in games on his own. He was absolutely phenomenal. I think he retired from Wales because he fell out with Gatland. I don't think he was actually done. I think he's easily good enough to still be playing Test rugby. He's got the experience. It's a congested area at number 7, like we've spoken about. But this guy is an all-time great. He's ridiculous. He's phenomenal. He can do everything. If we're talking about 7-1 splits that could have been back in the day, he would have worked so well in that kind of a logic of a team bench setup. He's the ultimate hybrid player. So the most boltery of all bolters is Wales is Justin Tipuric. There's my logic. So that brings us to the end of Picking the Pride, the last episode at least for 4 years, maybe longer. How do we? Is there anything left to say?
Where do we go from here?
Yeah, now what?
I mean, coaching staff is announced in 2 weeks' time, according to the Irish Independent, so we have that. The squad is being announced in May.
In front of a live crowd, which I think is pretty good.
In front of a live studio audience.
Yeah.
Who won't know half the players' names. And then we have the squad, the tour. I'm not sure.
Argentina first up, isn't it, in Dublin?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the plan
first
is
ever
here.
Lions test.
But if you want to keep this ball rolling for the summer, guys, I'm absolutely more than willing. I've absolutely no interest in doing the Lions on my own platform because the Lions is actually usually it's not something that picks up traction once it actually takes off. Everyone loves the selection chat. When the games are on, it's like, oh yeah. Oh yeah, I don't really want to talk about the Lions against the Melbourne Rebels. Thank you very much.
Yeah, God, it's going to be an interesting time for content creators. All right, then. So we'll call it there then. So thank you, everybody, for joining us for Picking the Pride. If you've enjoyed it and think that we at least got some semblance of sense over our 23s, please like the video and subscribe, and maybe even share a link with a friend. If you have extremely strong feelings about any of our selections, then please leave those feelings
or
down in the comment
selectors,
section.
I think. Is
Yeah.
Tell us your 23. Tell us your 23.
If you are fine with our selections, but you just don't like us as people, that's okay. You can put that in the comments as well. And it just leaves me to say, enjoy the rugby, and I hope everybody's team wins. Cheers.
That was the United Rugby Rewind. Please rate, review and share us on socials if you can, and join us next week for more of the same. And until then, enjoy your rugby.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.